schedules to join on today's weekly Zoom meeting. I'm the Lisa and I'm going to be your host, co-presented by Mr. Samuel Yamte. As guest speakers for today, we had Shanslin Nancy and Arnold joining us a little bit late. So, Madam Shanslin, please, you just tell us who you are, a little bit of who you are, and then after that, we'll dive into our topic of discussion for today.
All right. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where we're joining this meeting from. I am Shansley Nanze. I am a journalist, particularly a sports journalist, working with the CRTV. Apart from sports, I also pay interest in tourism and culture as well. I was decorated the third best female worker of CRTV in 2022. I am also a young media fellowship or a young media fellow, a young African media fellow, pardon me. I think that I am not the type to talk too much about myself, so please pardon me. So I think I should just leave it here. And I work with CRTV based in Bakusam, so I work with the West Regional Station of the CRTV.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Nancy. Arnold just joined us. Arnold, you're welcome. Hello, Arnold. We're having some issues getting you.
Can you get me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you very much for joining. Please tell us who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Arno Kwamo. I am a journalist, a practicing journalist. I do more freelancing, mostly into audiovisual reporting. Yeah, so that's briefly about me. I've worked with a lot of media outlets before being a freelance, even though I still somehow give a helping hand to some local media in Cameroon, for example, Vision Cat TV, even the national station, CRTV, and a couple of the local stations that we have here in Bamenda. And I equally own an online TV. For now, it's still developing. We have it on YouTube, known as Global Promotion Media. I'm the manager there with the aim of promoting local development, sport, and entertainment.
Thank you very much for that brief introduction. So today we are going to be talking about journalism in Africa, the practice of journalism in Africa. So I would love Madam Nancy to take the lead, and then she'll co-present this with Mr. Arnold.
Okay, thank you. Just to say that I think this is a good coincidence because Nanze happens to be someone I know so much, someone I saw grew in journalism, and I'm very proud of who she's become today.
Okay, we grew in journalism together, so don't tell me that you saw me grow in journalism. Anyways, I think before we go into our discussions, I would say I owe my journalism profession to a greater extent to CKA, because way back in secondary school, he actually encouraged the drive, and he was like, don't do this, don't do this. And I call him my father in this profession. All right, now let's get back to our discussions. The practice of journalism in Africa, it's actually a very broad one, and we wouldn't want to start by defining what we already know journalism and how the African continent looks like. But I want to say not just journalism, the media as a whole is actually growing in Africa. I can also say Africa is a fertile land for the growth of the media, given that there's still a lot to be exploited as far as the media is concerned in Africa. There are still a lot of avenues, with the coming of the social media and stuff. There is still a whole lot to be done. So when we talk about the practice of journalism, I want to say that journalism in Africa should be in, I don't know how to put it, it's at its peak. If you want to put it that way, either at its peak or it's rising or closer to the peak, because we have more and more young people getting involved in the media. We have more and more media outlets springing up on a daily basis. We've gone to just having the print and audiovisual to the new media. When I talk about the new media, I'm talking about everything that has to do with the internet, websites, we have social networks, we have blogs, and all the other ones that you could think about. We have media organs that have moved from just the traditional media. When I talk about the traditional media, I'm talking about the radio, TV, and print that have moved from that to owning websites, owning Facebook and Twitter accounts. I want to take the case of Sarah TV that I work for. Sarah TV has a website. Sarah TV also has a Facebook page, Sarah TV web. You go to YouTube, you find Sarah TV. You go to Twitter, you're going to find Sarah TV. So I want to say that is actually on the rising curve. The media, the practice of journalism in Africa, in Cameroon in particular, is actually on the rising curve. And maybe the moderator could be specific. Maybe our discussions are going to get to a particular direction.
All right. So actually, we'll be talking about the challenges this profession is facing in we're going to use Cameroon as a case study. You know, many people believe that this profession has been influenced a lot by politics, by the society, and given that this profession evolves day by day because we deal with everyday's life. So we're going to be talking about the challenges this profession is encountering in Cameroon in particular, and how we can come out of this, how we can move on and conquer this. Because the goal of journalism is to change a society using just a simple pen and a microphone, as my always tell me. What we're actually going to be talking about.
All right. Talking about the challenges that the media is facing in Cameroon in particular, they are enormous. I want to use the aspect of fake news. With the development of citizen journalism, it's very easy for someone to sit in his or her room and come up with a story that is unverified, and it starts spreading from one social medium to another. I want to take the case of let me take the case of a baby or of a woman who was reported, an internally displaced lady who was reported in Banganke of the West Region. I want to take the case of the West Region because I work there and I am versed with that particular region. And it was reported that she had actually delivered the baby and buried the baby. That's the information that circulated on social media. But when we got there, we discovered that she hadn't buried the baby. It's true that she delivered the baby and she left the baby in an uncompleted building, and she was monitoring the situation to see what is going to happen, because at a point in time she was already overwhelmed with her situation and she just needed to be helped, and she didn't know how to get the help. Is when we get to her to explain what happened that we actually got the story. But everyone was already condemning her on social media that she had actually delivered a baby and abandoned the baby, which is not the case. I equally want to take the case of what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest regions now. I want to believe that there's been a lot of misinformation that has been circulating on the social media as far as the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions are concerned. So it makes the growth of journalism, it makes the practice of journalism difficult, because people are easily carried away by what is not happening or by what seemingly is happening rather than what is actually there. Another thing too is that the media in Cameroon is very dependent. It depends a lot on those who can actually sponsor. So many politicians use the media for agenda setting. And another thing too is that those who can actually influence those who are into the media now with some cash can easily get away with what they want. I take an example where maybe a politician who has the power, the money gets journalists, and he says that, okay, I'm giving you this amount of money so that you're going to write this against my opponent, and it's been happening a lot. Another thing too is that press censorship is very, very common in Cameroon because you know, there are a lot of laws. I want to believe it should be the anti-terrorism law. If it's not 2019, it should be either 2018. I think we have to verify the anti-terrorism law that talks about defamation, and that anyone who defames maybe a public figure runs the risk of going to prison with a whooping sum of money that can be paid by the victim before he is released. Now, how do we define defamation? Because I might be giving out accurate information about something, and the person concerned decides that this is defamation and that I am running down his or her name, and I stand the risk of finding myself in prison. Meanwhile, I was simply just doing my job. So those are some of the challenges that the media actually faces. I think I shouldn't be monopolizing the discussion.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay, I would love to send this to Mr. Arnold. Mr. Arnold, given these challenges that Madam Nancy has just stated, what do you think we can do to ameliorate the situation? Because actually, what we want is we're not here to cry. We are the problems are there, they are enormous. But what to do? What's the way forward? What can we do to remedy the situation? Hello, Mr. Arnold, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Arnold.
it seems CK has left the meeting, unless someone else is bearing his name. Oh, he is there. Maybe he has to put on his mic.
Okay. Can you get me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I muted my mic and I forgot to unmute it. So, like Chanceline has said a lot of, about the challenges that journalists in Cameroon, like you've said, that Cameroon should be used as a reference. And I think most of these can be, like you asked about how we can help this situation. I just want to say that, first of all, we have a lot of problems as journalists practicing in Cameroon to access information. There's a lot of bottlenecks around getting to information, because normally from the definition of a journalist, you are supposed to get the information. Maybe, but I always like that journalists should get primary information, not even secondary, because journalists are supposed to get the raw information and process and equally process this information for the consumption of the masses. Now, there is this bottleneck when it has to do, when you get to get information. Now, how can we actually get this? Now, if there is a way that journalists can have freedom to actually access information, for example, if your friend is not a politician, or if not your friend, they cannot give you some certain information, or if you are not coming from a particular medium or media house, you will not be given. Chanceline works with the national station, and she could understand more what I'm saying here. For example, some of us in the private sector, at times you are even traumatized while on the field. You're trying to get information, and they will tell you if you are CRTV. They will ask you a question if you are CRTV, and the moment you are not CRTV, it's difficult. It's not only with CRTV. Now, for example, in the Northwest and Southwest region where we are having the crisis, it is difficult for CRTV now on this other side to access information. You get to understand that there was a time, there is a senior colleague that works with CRTV. He told me that they will have to use at times the name of a private media to get information, especially on the side of the masses, who sometimes are disappointed with the state media for one reason or the other. So accessibility to information is something that we have to work on. if we can work on the accessibility to information, I talked about the Northwest and Southwest region, it's very difficult. For example, the reporting within the crisis that is rocking these two regions, but it is very difficult at times to get the exact information of what is happening on the ground. Chancellor made mention of, citizen journalism, which is overtaking the traditional journalism today. And this is happening even with journalists who are well trained. There is this talk about armchair journalism. At times, it's not actually their fault that they are so comfortable on their armchair, like they'll put it. The accessibility of information is difficult. Now, in the Northwest and Southwest region, we'll be reporting maybe about the actions of.
I don't know what happened, but it seems we cannot just exit the meeting. So, if Madame Champlain is okay, if Madame Nancy is okay, then I would love her to take over from where Mr. Arnold ended. Sorry.
Yeah, this is one of the challenges we have in as journalists. For example, I came very late because of electricity issues. So at times, for example, I did, just to get short this and to say that we have a lot of difficulties even with the internet. We have difficulties with electricity, that's power. I had a lot of difficulties today connecting to the webinar because of this. So I was talking about accessibility to information is very difficult. We've been reporting actions of maybe the government, or call it the pro-state actors, but very difficult to actually report the situations or the actions of the non-state actors. Why? Because the access and fear to get towards them is very difficult. At times, for example, I've had the opportunity to meet them on 2 or 3 occasions, and they identify me to be a journalist. Now, they were very eager to talk to me, but now what about my own safety? On the other side, the government is still the power of the nation. They still have the power. Now, the moment you go to actually have information from these guys, you might be tagged to be part and parcel of their actions. Same on the other side. At times you report government actions, you are attacked by the other party that you're actually working with them. So it's difficult to access information and actually process this information is difficult. So I think if we can work on that, it's going to be very important. Now, the second point, maybe just to link with what my colleague Chanceline was saying, the private sector. I want to talk more about the private sector because we have well-trained journalists at times who leave school and they are not opportune to work with the state media. Now, this is a very big problem because those who are actually following us maybe in the Western country, they might not understand this because it is often said that elsewhere, most people will prefer to work with the private sector because it's more liberal. And of course, maybe the financial benefits there is something very high. And if the private sector in Cameroon is, especially in the media, it's very, very poor. Very, very poor, I must say so. A lot of journalists are practicing today for little or no pay in the private sector. A lot of them. So you get to understand just from what Chantilly was saying, now there will be a lot of, how can I put it? They'll have a lot, at times you are influenced by what your source gives you. For example, you go to do a particular news for a politician. Politicians easily use this sector or this set of people because they go home with little or nothing. There's this issue of gombo. The higher the gombo, the juicy your story becomes. The higher the gombo, you're highly praised. Now, if the private sector in the media can be developed where journalists will not report because of what they are paid, we witness that like on every day basis in the Northwest where I am, where you go to a particular, like what happened just yesterday, where somewhere for a coverage, and you will not imagine that after a coverage, the state media, they were already there processing their information to send to their news decks. The entire hall was still full with private journalists or journalists from the private sector. Why? Because at the end of the day, that meeting ended around 5 p.m. and journalists from the private sector left the place around getting to about 8:30 p.m. in the night. Now, when do you go and actually conceive and develop your news? And some of them left the place without receiving anything from the organizers, and they were angry. Now, you get to understand the kind of information that these journalists will process out there. When you read from these journalists or you follow their stories, it will be influenced with what they actually received from this particular event organizer. No, that's to tell you that the private sector depends on what comes in. There is this phenomenon, I know a lot of persons who want to differ with me, but I believe so much in it. When you look at the private sector, at times they say the private sector in Cameroon or elsewhere, they are anti-government, they speak the truth. At times it's business, because me, I am into more of business when it comes to the media. Now, what happens is most of these private outlets, their main interest is not even the information, it's business. It's business. And when they don't have the money, they have to look for ways for the monies to come in. You will not tell me that a TV station that pays, for those who know how much it costs to have a TV station on the satellite, you get to understand with me that these media outlets will need to say things that will bring a lot of fans behind them. And when you have a lot of fans, that's how you get advertorials. And it's from advertorials that they have a lot to back home with. Still in this private sector, talking about going home with little or nothing, most of the times the proprietors are the ones who earn everything. They'll keep telling you that, no, let's see what we'll do. Maybe next month something will come in, and it will keep influencing these journalists to want to report to favor a particular person, because they'll know that when I report this or this person's name come up, this is what he will be able to give me. I think that point, we have a lot to say on that particular point. I just want to end this particular phase by talking about effective training too. I have discovered that our various training schools, I think Shazlin will agree with me, in Cameroon, training journalists are not actually doing their best. I think so, because when you see graduates from our various universities who come out with degrees, journalism degrees, they are not actually effective on the field when they get, and this is because in Cameroon as a whole, we are so based on theory than practical. Why the Western world is so interested in who can do it, we are still believing too much on theories. So I think still to solve some of these challenges, they have to revise a lot when it comes to our various trainings in our various universities. They have to revise them. This, for example, in Bamenda or in Cameroon now, most of the journalism students are in internship. I happen to have worked with some of them, and I must tell you that it is very difficult. At times you ask yourself if actually they do learn anything in school. So it's very difficult. At times, it's not all about because I just want to be a journalist or because I admire a particular journalist and I want to flow like this journalist that you are supposed to agree with us here in Cameroon. That journalists don't have money. That journalists don't have money. But I think at the level of our schools, we need to revise a lot. We have to revise a lot to actually see that if we have, for example, we have a program of 3 years, at least half of that, half of those 3 years should be more of practicals, and I think with that it is going to help a lot to curb some of these challenges that journalists are passing through in Africa and Cameroon, to be precise.
All right.
I think I can end here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Arnold. Thank you very much for those points there. Actually, if I think I personally, as a journalist, I think if those things should be implemented, then I think our media in Cameroon will improve positively. We have Mercy around. Mercy is equally a journalist. I don't know if she has something to say or something to add to what Mr. Arnold has said. Hello, Mercy. Please unmute your mic. Hello, Mercy. Please unmute your mic so you can. Can you hear us? Please, maybe it would help us unmute Mercy's mic. We have some background noise, some unwanted noise. I don't know where it's coming from. Maybe we can mute Mr. Harrison and unmute Mercy. Okay. Can Mercy hear us? Okay, it seems, I don't know, it seems she can't hear me apparently. Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. So Mercy says there is a lot of noise where she is, so she would love to stay muted. I would love to add something to what Mr. Arnold and Madame Nancy has said already. Actually, I would love to share with you guys an experience. Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you 5 on 5.
Okay, I would love to share with you people an experience. So when I was still in in ASMAC, when I was in the Advanced School of Mass Communication in Yaoundé, I had this senior colleague. By then he was in level 3. I was in year 2. One day we were walking home, and he said something that I don't think I'll forget in a long while. So he said journalists actually have a lot of money, and this was his backup. He actually said, for instance, if you go to a bar and you ask the bartender to give you to offer you Guinness, while drinking the Guinness, you discover that there is a fly inside the Guinness. The first question you ask yourself is, what is that fly doing inside the Guinness? Now, as a journalist, you have this advantage of going to Guinness. That means you can snap it to have evidence that when I opened this beer, there was actually a fly inside this Guinness. And we all know that if there was a fly inside the Guinness, it means producing the beer, there was some kind of sanitary misorder. Maybe there was some kind of mix-up, and maybe there was some kind of dirt. The environment was dirty, or maybe there was I don't know how I'm going to put it, but there was inhygiene. Let me just put it that way, producing the beer. So now you know very well that if you tell this story to the public, people might likely withdraw from drinking beer, and we know how many people drink Guinness in Cameroon. Now, as a journalist, you go to Guinness and you propose them a deal. He said, you go to Guinness, you first of all tell them, see, if you people don't give me this amount of money, I'm going to leak this information. And you know very well what will happen if I leak out this information. First of all, you not only lose clients, but first of all, you might likely be sanctioned. People might not drink your beer again. The government might just terminate you from the market. And with that, since Guinness don't want to disappear from the Cameroon's market, they might give you the offer you want. And what happens? You remain mute. You don't say anything. Now, if there was really some inhygienic practices while producing the beer, you actually saw the fly inside the beer, and you know that it's not going to be very good for the public, and you remain quiet because you are bribed by Guinness. First of all, as a journalist, you'll be held responsible for two things. The two things are you're putting the lives of so many people in danger, and you, the journalist, you're putting your life in danger too, because you might likely ask for a sum that is equivalent to Guinness capital, and they won't give you the money and remain quiet. They will actually come for your life. And when he was telling me this story, I was like, wow, he was opening my mind to a whole lot of things. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the journalism profession has a very big role in this, in not only in Cameroon but in the world at large. Look at what's happening in Russia. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. Look at what's happening in Palestine. Look at what's happening all around the world. Who is leaking the information? Is journalists. Each country is responsible to tell the other the other way, or the other partner, that our country is well equipped. If you try us, we are going to kill you. They send out information, and sometimes the information they send, sometimes the information they send stimulates anger, stimulates passion, and this passion is in the negative sense. So what I'm trying to say is that in Cameroon, first of all, journalists are not really given this kind of respect. Like, we consider the journalism profession as a fourth power, but we're not given this respect as a fourth power, because if we are given this respect as the fourth power, then first of all, we'll have access to information. As Mr. Arnold said in his presentation, private sector journalists don't have access to information. I volunteered in the CRTV Northwest, and I can tell you that while on the field, there's always this I don't know how to put it, but there is this struggle by the private media to get access to information. Like, they always ask you, are you CRTV? Are you a state? If you're not from the state media, I don't know why they prefer the state media to other private media. Maybe because they feel like the private media will tell the truth about what's going on, and maybe the state media is reserved. Their purpose is to paint a good image of the country or something. But then I think if our country should accord this importance to journalists, if we give importance to journalists, then we will know that journalists, just like teachers, just like medical doctors, just like every other profession in this country, we need allowance, we need a good pay, and we need insurance, because journalists are not insured in this country. If I should say so, it might be in paper, but in reality, it's not done. Look at how journalists are dying in the Northwest and the Southwest regions without backup. They die and nobody coughs, nobody say a word. But in other countries, it's not done. People will strike. But in this country, who will strike? You strike, you're doomed. They take you to prison and all the rest. You have nobody to talk for you. And even if there is someone to talk for you, who knows? We don't know if you will be liberated at the end of the day or not. So that's just the core of what I wanted to say. Journalists, first of all, should be given prime importance in Cameroon in particular, because we are using Cameroon as a case study. Journalists should be given importance. They are considered as the fourth part, so they should be given that importance. And giving them, recognizing their position in this country means they need to have what it takes to feed themselves, feed their families. If they have the money, if they have what it takes to feed themselves and feed their families, they will not go after Gombo, as Mr. Arnold said. They will not go after Gombo, because the stories they tell depends on the money they give them, they pay them. If I have a story for a particular journalist to do for me, what that journalist writes depends on what I give the journalist. Whereas it's not supposed to be like that. We're tampering with the truth. And the role of a journalist is to bring out the truth. If we are seeing roads, they are bad roads, and we see that these roads need to be constructed, but because some funny politician has promised to give you $1 billion, you decide to stay quiet, or say the politician plans to, whereas we all know that it's not going to be done. So I think journalists should be given prior importance in this country. That's all I have to say. I would love to ask if Mr. Samuel has something to add. I would have really loved Mercy to say something, because not only is she a journalist, a practicing journalist, she's also a lawyer by profession, and a lot more. But since she's in a noisy place, I would love to ask if Mr. Samuel has something to add. If not, I would love to open the floor for participants to bring in their contributions or ask any questions if anything was not well understood. Hello, Mr. Samuel.
Yes, it's happy to be here and listening to you. And for people like you, mostly young people now, because you are future. Most of those people are living there. So you have to be able to ask questions respectfully. I mean, it's not like you gotta go and shout and insult people. No, you gotta go and talk to people in ministry somewhere and say, look, I'm a journalist and I'm writing paper on this subject. And who can I talk to? Because I need information. Come there with your information you want, like a checklist. I want this. This is what I want. So you gotta be focused. And then when you get your information, then you develop. That's what journalists do. So I don't know if it helped, but that's my contribution.
Thank you very much for that contribution. So open the floor for other participants. If you have questions or any contributions coming in, then please do well to ask.
Okay, Lisa?
Oh. All right. Mr. Arnold,
Hello?
I can hear you.
All right. I think he said a lot of things. I just want to appreciate him for that. Yeah, to say that journalists too in Cameroon need to actually industrialize themselves. I mean, they should not rely only on the, as I was saying, if you rely too much on gombo, you might end up to be very poor, because the day the politicians, especially politicians who want to use you, the day they are not where they are, or when they have achieved what they really want to achieve, they'll forget about you. So you can actually industrialize yourself. You can get information. There's a lot of opportunities out there when it comes to, I mean, you can create documentaries. You can, I mean, market your stories. Working as a freelance, there's a lot of opportunities that we have. We should not only want to have the kind of journalism that we want to do, maybe to favor A or B, because A or B wants to pay me this amount before I can do, I mean, a favor, because at times journalism now have become like you're doing a favor to a particular person. Yeah, I just want to equally appreciate, acknowledge the presence of one of our senior too, Zebam Godlove, who just joined us.
Okay. Mr. Godlove, you're welcome. Okay, so the floor is still open for any questions, any contribution. You can just signal by raising your hand and you will be on.
Raisa's hand is up.
Okay.
No? I say raise, okay, raise hand. All right, I thought I saw Raisa.
Okay, it seems we don't have any questions. It seems we don't have any contributions to Mr. Tevi Louis.
My hand is up.
All right.
Yes,
Yes, you are.
I think
Expert.
hello. There is an icon where you send a message. Okay, Madam Shanslin has a question or contribution.
Well, it's not a question, it's a contribution to the solutions, proposed solutions uh, to overcome the challenges that the media in Africa and Cameroon in particular is facing. I would want to say that it's good to that is in elementary services. Why not partner together? Let me see, I own a camera, another person doesn't have a camera but has a good pen and can write a very good script. Why not partner together? So that way we can bring our resources together and instead of depending on people who are going to set the agenda for us and tell us how to write stories, which most of the times do not respect the ethics of the profession. We can come together as young people in the future because when you're just getting into the profession for the first time and you it becomes very difficult. Then we partner together and then do some pretty remarkable things. Remember, two heads are always.
Okay, Madam Shannon, there is some kind of background noise that is hindering us from getting you well. I don't know what the noise is. I don't know where it's coming from, but we weren't able to get you well. I don't know if I was the only person getting that problem. But if others too did, then I would love you to maybe summarize what you just said so we can get you well. Hello, Madam Nancy.
All right, I'm getting you. I'm getting you. What I was trying to say is that it's always very easier when two heads come together to, you know, offer services, complementary services. So I was saying that one of the ways to reduce or to limit being totally dependent on individuals who most of the times set the agenda and even how a story should be written, which most of the times do not even respect the ethics of the profession. I think it's good that we come together. And I gave an example that if I have a camera and you have a good pen, you can write very good stories. We can still come together and we pitch something and we do something good. And with the little resources that we have, we can produce something remarkable that will end up probably pulling views on social media. Since most people have their YouTube channels, you could pull views on YouTube, many likes on Facebook and stuff. So it's just a matter of partnerships and coming together to limit the dependence on the individuals that want to set the agenda. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Nancy. Thank you for that contribution. The floor is still open. I was about to call on Mr. Tebi Louis. Mr. Louis, please say something. You have a great mind, and your contributions are always mind blowing.
I was actually saying that I learned a lot related to communication from Chanceline, from CKA, and from others while growing up, from a youth forum on TRT Northwest, and they pushed the communication passion into a professional school, and are practicing throughout their lives since then till today. I can only appreciate the great job they are doing. I follow Chanceline personally. I can see how much passion she's putting into promote football, and the results are evident. I'm very grateful for that.
Thank
I
you, Liz.
can how much passion CK is, and Toriki is one of the YouTube channel. He's a freelance journalist. He's producing credible reports that present the beautiful natural endowment of Cameroon back to the entire world. And I can only thank them for the great job they're doing. I've learned from their presentation, and I'm willing to keep collaborating with them as we move ahead, because working in synergy, we can certainly make the world a better place to be.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tebi. Thank you for that contribution. Okay, so we're actually drawing close to the end of this session. And as I earlier said at the beginning of this Zoom meeting, we have this coming up every Friday. Every Friday with different guest speakers, different is to impact our society positively. So if we can do that through educating our society, it's not all about coming here, sitting down and listening and then going back the same. No, if you come to a Zoom meeting, you have as an assignment to learn something, and you're not supposed to learn and keep it for yourself. You're actually supposed to learn and take it out there. For those who are not able to make it to this meeting, tell them that this is what has to be done, this is what has to be done in this situation, in this situation, in this situation, so that we can have a better society. And as Mr. Samuel usually tells me, I will always repeat it everywhere I go. He used to say, our society can only be developed or impact from an individual level, at an individual level, sorry. So if we start this at individual levels from our houses, then I think a whole community will wake up one day to a developed or inspired community someday. So thank you very much once again for taking out time from your busy schedules to be with us this evening. I'm looking forward to seeing you all here next week. For now, it is going to be a bye. Don't forget to leave me a message on what you telling me what you feel, or maybe contribution, or letting me know if you're willing to be part of us next time. So thank you very much once again. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Next time.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Chance me.